Copper prices up 50%. Gold, of course, also up in the last year or thereabouts. I'm talking about copper from this time last year. Tell us about your earnings and tell us how this has all worked for you 2019 with this backdrop of a global pandemic.
Yeah, sure, Rish. As you said, we released our 2020 financial results this morning. We're very pleased to say that we had a 30% increase in our profit, which allowed us to increase our dividend for this year. It's the highest profit we've made in 10 years now, and our dividend's the highest dividend we've paid now in almost a decade. And that's off the back of a number of things, but I would say primarily because of the strength of the operations and their performance through last year. It was a difficult year. I know it was a difficult year for most people around the planet. But I'm very pleased that the people in the organisation looked after their health, looked after their personal safety and their well-being, and also lent really in to help us generate record performance in Prominent Hill in the way of produced gold and copper. In Carrapateena, we ramped up the operation in 12 months, which we were expecting to take 18 months. We managed to release an updated study on our new project at West Musgrave, which is a copper and nickel, which shows about a 12 million tonne per year operation with close to $1 billion NPV. And we also started and ramped up a new mine in Brazil, which to me is just quite really impressive for the people to be able to do this in a pretty complex environment.
And against a backdrop where, if you take a look at the whole gamut of commodities, looking at this at the conference board, we got, since the lows in April, we're looking at a 47% gain there. You couldn't have helped but make good gains, could you, Andrew? So tell us, are we now in the midst of a commodities super cycle, or are you just sick of answering that question?
Look, Richie, I'm not sure about a super cycle per se. Look, I try and look at the very fundamentals as opposed to get drawn into super cycle type conversations, if you like. And one of the things that I really like about copper, and increasingly nickel for that matter, is that we are all pushing towards reducing emissions on this planet to help make a greener place for us, our kids and our grandkids. And in order to do that, we need to electrify and we need to produce clean, green energy to do that. And the commodities that you must have in order to do that include copper and elements like nickel. We have not invested a lot of money in exploration over the last 10 years in trying to find new copper deposits. So the supply side is under pressure. And on a demand side, we are going to see increased demand for these elements and these commodities to help produce clean, green energy and then store it in ways that we can actually then use it. So I think fundamentally, these are really strong commodities that we are going to need for the future of our planet. And that's why I enjoy working with this company. And it's why I enjoy what I'm doing, because it is actually an enabler for the future of our children.
You talk about how strong demand is. How strong is the demand from China?
Well, I think Chinese demand is as strong today as it was before. OZ Minerals produces quite a niche concentrate, a copper concentrate. It's a very high copper in the concentrate itself. In fact, it's one of the highest in the world. So we end up selling our concentrate to a number of smelters around the world because they then blend it into the feeds that they produce. So global demand from smelters is rising, smelting capacity is rising around the planet, and that makes the position that we're in actually quite strong, and it gives us lots of choice and lots of flexibility.
So given that optimism, Andrew, do you see copper perhaps getting to 10,000 a tonne? And if so, when do you see that happening?
Look, one thing I have learned in my career is not to try and predict where things like this go. I do think the fundamentals are robust. I do think over the long term, we will see pressure on supply, increased demand, which will lend itself to higher pricing. I do think there'll be an awful lot of volatility, though, in that process. There's an awful lot of things that get overlain on top of these fundamentals, which cause short-term pullbacks, short-term spikes, if you like. But I think the key for people to remember is that they are not necessarily drivers of the fundamental supply and demand equation. So where it's going to go in the next year or two, hard to know. I would say over the 5-10 year period, it's going to directionally go up. And the types of decisions we're making need to look at those fundamental long-term characteristics, because the operations we build, the operations we run, are multi-decade type operations. One of the things that we only invest in OZ Minerals is bottom half cost producers. So irrespective of what the price will be, our margins are strong and will be resilient through all of those price fluctuations.
Andrew, can you just clear something up for me? Because, I mean, there was talk and then reports that copper had been actually included in a banned list for export to China, or China wasn't importing Australian copper. Is that the case? And if so, do you, where are you with that?
Yes, so we've seen rumours similar to what you've just mentioned, Rishi, but we send copper concentrate all around the world to many smelters. So one of the strengths of our approach is we're not beholden to any one country, any one customer or province. So we've got a lot of flexibility in the way we sell product. We're forward sold for this year and well into next year, and we can move products around if you like. One of the things we've also got, which I think is a strength for us, is a lot of processing flexibility. So we can actually chop and change our product mix and therefore the destinations that we send them to fairly quickly and easily. So that gives us a lot of optionality.
Yeah, but Andrew, I'm not getting from you whether you are actually seeing a ban on copper from China at the moment or not. Are you exporting there?
We don't send much to China. We have in the past, we've sent parcels to China. I haven't seen anything official that talks about bans of copper concentrate into China. But as I say, we send product all over the place. So what it looks like going forward, I guess, will be up to our customers and the mix of the products we actually produce. But certainly confident that we've placed all of our product into the next couple of years.
Andrew, commodities is closely linked to the US dollar. What assumptions are you making about the trajectory of the USD?
Yes, they absolutely are, because we trade all of our commodities in US dollars, if you like, and most of our operating costs are either in Australian dollars or Brazilian real with the operations in Brazil. I think our base case assumption is slightly below where it's currently trading. I'd like to see the dollar come down a little bit, which can obviously help us and much of the Australian economy. But so it's hard to predict where it's actually going. As I said before, though, a lot of these sort of macro events are very hard to predict where they're actually going based on the various decisions that get made at a geopolitical level. I think trying to predict that and respond to that is not the area that we should be focused on. The area we should be focused on is the things we can control. So having bottom half cost or first quartile cost operations, which is where we are today, allows us to operate in any operating environment, irrespective of where the US dollar does or does not go and where the commodity prices do or don't go. That's the critical thing that we as an organisation can focus on and can control. So that's where we spend our time and energy.